It's so absurd how many words I know I want to say to you, but instead I wait. Cause in this game I know what it feels like to lose. Every time that I've given love a try and get close to the fire, I get burned. Ooh, yes, I've given up the hope for love. I keep a safe distance, but like a wrecking ball you broke down the walls. Seems like I got another chance. If I let you in, will it hurt again? Like my teacher said, I'll never learn. Oh, and I know I'm a fool to think this time that it'll be just like we see in the movies. Cause God knows how many tears have hit the shoreline with every stone I've thrown out in the sea. Maybe you're gonna be the one to make me believe. You know, there's this idea out there that there's two kinds of people in this world. There are those who are connected to their passions and are living out their purpose, and then there's everybody else. But what if I told you that by the end of this talk, that you can realize your potential to live out your purpose, and the key to unlocking that is artist development? You know, as far as I can remember, I was always a really curious, passionate, wide-eyed little kid, full of dreams and wonder and a curiosity just to explore possibilities. As special as that sounds, I would go so far as to say that you and I at one point weren't so different. But if you were like me, you reach this critical moment in life that very possibly could be one of the most harsh and devastating realities that you've ever had. That moment where you have to grow up. And this happens where, in a time, for some of us, are earlier on in our development, depending on your environment and the way you were raised. But for a lot of us, this moment occurs in a classroom between kindergarten and about 5th grade. It's a time where curiosity and being inquisitive becomes annoying or disruptive. A time where wide-eyed vision and openness to possibilities begin to narrow and to diminish. And it's a time where dreams and passions become something almost laughable or something reserved for the movie screen, or ironically enough, for children. Now, does anybody else find that a bit contradictory to the very thing that we try to instill in young kids? Now, I don't know how you dealt with that shift, but for me, I had a really tough time with that, and I still do. And so what happens, though, in rejecting that as a young kid, so now I'm in kindergarten, in rejecting that, we have to kind of take on these labels, don't we? I'm the square peg in the round hole now. I'm the kid that marches to the beat of his own drum. You know, my parents or my teachers may have different labels than that. So we'll go with square-pegged drummer or something. So now I'm wearing these labels and this perception of myself that I'm the odd one out, right? Maybe some of you can relate. And on top of that, me personally, I actually, until about 7 or 8 years old, I struggled with a pretty serious speech impediment of stuttering. So as you can imagine, this presented a whole other set of struggles in some of the most critical earlier years of my life, socially and educationally. But eventually, things obviously worked themselves out, and my brain caught up to my mouth, which was a really great day. And so whenever I'd get in trouble in school, I would kindly explain to my teachers that I was just making up for lost time. They assured me that I was fully caught up. But seriously though, school was something that never came easy to me. I always struggled to get good grades. But ironically, again, the funny thing is that outside of what was available in school, there were all sorts of other disciplines that I excelled at. So for example, let me name a few. As a kid, almost every year I played baseball, I was on the all-star team. In the off season, I was a trophy-winning BMX racer. And my first paying gig, believe it or not, was a magic show. I remember my parents got me the 200-piece kit from Costco. I mastered every trick in the box until I was able to get my first. I had a partner, obviously as a magician you have to have a partner. And we split the profits. I made $10 at a 5 or 6-year-old birthday party or something like that. Believe it or not. And then how many of you guys remember the yo-yo craze? For me, this hit around middle school. And I saw this kid throwing down a yo-yo, doing a couple tricks. I was like, oh, I can do that. So I got a yo-yo, and seriously, like a few months later, I mastered it with like 2 yo-yos in one hand. I could draw a crowd any public place I would go to, and trust me, I did. My dad, he says I still have it. And I could literally draw a crowd so much, and believe it or not, I'm not kidding you, I won a citywide yo-yo competition. And so then towards the end of middle school, I discovered the beautiful game of golf. My friend took me out, I was hooked. I was so obsessed with the game that I practiced, and again, just like yo-yos, a few months later, I made it on the varsity golf team in high school, about a few months since picking up a club. Fast forward to my junior year in high school, and I became the #1 player in my school, and I was ranked in the top 10 in my city for 5A high school golf. Now I'm gonna go back just a little bit, because at the same time I discovered golf was actually in parallel as when I began my experience with music. And it happened, I remember being in church and I observed this like young, hip, cool drummer, and I was like, I wanna do that, that's so cool. Like as an ADD kid, like that's a dream, like everything's doing something at once, I was like, this is perfect, So I remember I went up to him, I bugged him, I would watch him, and it turns out he teaches music lessons. So this was not only my first experience with music, but my first experience with a teacher. So I started taking lessons with him, and my hunger for music began to grow. For drums and music began to expand. So then I auditioned, and I made it into the high school jazz band. Now still, I'm doing it for fun. I just want to play in the church, play in school, everything's cool. Until this moment where there was this shift where my passion for music caused me to drop all of my plans to do golf because I knew I wanted to make a career in music. So there I went with only a couple years experience with music, pretty green into the craft. I was like, here we go. So I auditioned, and I barely made it into the School of Music at the University of Arizona, and I mean barely. I will never forget that audition because in just a few moments, it was exposed that not only I could not read a note on the staff, but I couldn't tell you the name of a key on a piano. So from the very beginning, at the onset of my music experience in college, I knew I was taking on probably twice the amount of workload as everybody else, because not only did I have to keep up with the immense amount required of work and study and practice required of a music major, but I also was playing catch up the entire time. But I loved it so much I didn't even care. So now fast forward. A few years later, and my passion and my love for music grows even further. Till I'm playing multiple instruments, I'm playing in bands, I'm writing songs, and I even started teaching music. At first, just like following in the footsteps of my teacher, I started teaching little kids private lessons. But then towards the end of my college career, my undergraduate studies, I was invited to teach kindergarten through 5th grade music, general music, at a local elementary school here in Tucson. I was enamored. I just couldn't, I can't tell you how passionate I was about this. Because I was like, oh my gosh, not only is this another connection and another facet of my love for music, but it revealed this totally new craft, teaching. Something I love so much, it makes perfect sense. I love kids, I love helping others. This was a perfect marriage between these two things that I really loved. So not knowing all of what that meant at the time, the next best thing happened, and I lost my job. Not because I got fired, I know what you're thinking. Not because I got fired. So there I am, teaching. The slides are, I have to keep up with them, So there I am, I lost my job, not because I got fired, but because of the budget crisis that affected the availability for music and arts programs to be available, specifically in public schools. Now, I know a lot of you here are not unfamiliar with this issue, but for me personally, I was very green in the education community, and I had no clue what was going on, not an idea. So I started asking everybody involved in teaching questions. I started interviewing principals, and I researched this issue more than I've ever researched anything in my life. And once I started wrapping my head around what I felt was really going on, all I knew was I'm finished my degree, and all I knew was I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to do something about this. And I also wanted to do music, and I also wanted to be connected to all the other, and my yo-yo. I'm just kidding. But, so I get done, and I'm researching locally, I'm researching nationally, and even internationally, trying to find something that fit the bill, and to be honest with you, I couldn't find anything. So thereon I went to my next passion, social enterprise. I went out, I bought a vision journal, I got myself an LLC from the state of Arizona, and I started my own company. At first, I had no idea what this company was or what it was going to do, so I approached it the same way I approached everything else. Wide-eyed, passionate, curious, and open to all possibilities at all times. And so, out of that, birthed My Town Music. My Town Music originally started as a full-service music education solution for schools of all sorts, charter, public, private, even homeschool networks. But now, years later, I've transplanted the entire idea to Los Angeles, California. And My Town Music today is artist development, education, and coaching, specifically through songwriting. And what's really incredible is in this past year alone, we've expanded to both production of film and music, so we can not only capture the stories and the songs of these young kids, but we can share them across the globe. Now, there's so many more initiatives. There's so much more growth ahead for My Town Music. But even in these past series of years, it's been such an incredible adventure. And something where I can't tell you how much I've learned in such a short amount of time, it seems. So why do I tell you all that? Earlier, I confessed an issue that I had with growing up. But as it turns out, that was the exact perspective that taught me how to be an artist. The reason why I played my song for you earlier is so that you now understand that what actually caused me to have a sustainable career as a musician, a songwriter, coaching other people to do the same, and even as a social entrepreneur, actually began with every throw of a yo-yo, or the swing of a golf club, and the crack of a baseball bat. You see, what I now understand is that becoming an artist isn't necessarily a destination, it's a way of travel. That I realize that for me, that my purpose and my passions weren't something that I just stumbled on or that I fell into. They were revealed through artist development as a lifestyle. Now, I believe there's something truly profound in what I've learned in my personal journey that's not just for me, it's for everyone. So allow me the opportunity to share an idea with you that I believe can be truly empowering for people who already identify themselves as artists and those who don't. Check this out. If an artist is a practitioner of a craft by definition, think about that for a second. What then couldn't be approached as a craft or an art in all the activities of a human experience? I bet you can't think of anything. So my idea that I would like to pose is that what makes an artist is in their point of view. It's in their perspective. It's in their intention. It's in their approach. And for me, it was in the way that I lived my life. You see, guys, if this is true, then that's really exciting news. That means anyone, anywhere, has the potential to awaken and develop the artist within. That means everyone can be an artist. What would your life look like if you knew that you had the potential to awaken and develop the artist within you, for your families, for your communities, and for the world? So why music, Corey? All that being said, why music? Well, for me, I love music. And if you were to ask me over the years why I love music, I probably would have given you an array of different answers. Until one day, I met a very special man by the name of Dr. Carol Reinhardt. He's actually here today. He's my mentor. He's 90 years old. And I remember the moment I met him, I was just like, I really like this guy. And I just learned so much from him. So through his mentorship and through his guidance, I feel like it took me to whole new heights of what I saw as the potential of music, not only in my life, but for others. And through our research, we discovered that neurologically, music's one of the only learning entrees for the brain that's the perfect marriage between language and experience. Now, this is significantly and profoundly important to early childhood, ages prenatal to 4 years old. That's pretty incredible. But beyond that, what other force can you think of on this planet that is more transcendent and transferable and powerful as music? That it can convey love and compassion and authenticity and even intrinsic growth. There's nothing like it. But all that being said, understand that music education, and even arts education are not the answer alone. Artist development is where it's at. As long as we can embrace a much broader, wider view that an artist is a practitioner of any craft. So now imagine with me an open source learning platform that's accessible by anyone, everywhere. And it offers the most intuitive and progressive artist development. Now you can keep imagining, and soon you will see it, because we've been building it. And it's being engineered to foster intrinsic growth, address academic growth, and ultimately empower and develop the potential in individuals. So what do you believe the world would look like for culture, for communities everywhere, if individuals had full access and resources to be able to leverage their passions in order to develop and discover their potential and ultimately live out their purpose in life? Thank you.